Welcome to the first episode of another anime podcast presented to you by Last Choice Network. I'm super excited to introduce to you our new team of our other new podcast, with many others joining us as the season kind of approaches. We've got an anime podcast, a horror podcast, a regular Last Choice Network podcast, a video game podcast, a game show podcast coming up, and a Gamer Girl podcast as well. So we're kind of all over the place, but I want to introduce you to our brand new team that's going to host and run this anime podcast. To my left, I've got Natalie Narvaja.
Hello.
And on the right, I've got Taylor Brown. And for
Howdy.
the game, you might know him as Master of Shadows, or Master of Five Shadows, as we like to call him. So, guys, I'm pretty excited to have you guys join the team and start this podcast. So I'm going to kick it over to you, Taylor, and just kind of let me know your thoughts and what you're excited about kind of doing and what made you interested in doing an anime podcast.
I've always really enjoyed anime, so doing this actually is kind of special to me because it gives me a chance to talk about animes, maybe something that I don't see, like an anime that got canceled maybe or something like that, just kind of put it on blast, like something I was watching and now it's gone, I can't watch it anymore, or something like that. Also, it's really cool to see how big the world of being a weeb has grown. I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there because I love it. There's a lot of good drama animes, action, just everything. And there's so many good stories to tell from each one of them too.
That's pretty cool. And Natalie, what about you? I know we've kind of roped you into our Last Choice Network team. I think you might even be on a few other podcasts pretty soon as well. So kind of introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about you and why you're excited about doing this.
Yeah, hi, I'm Natalie. I am excited to do this because I also really like anime. I started watching probably whenever I was like in middle school or something, and it has definitely like brought me to meet a lot of like people that I really like. It's gotten me into cosplay, which is something that I haven't done in a while because of COVID, but like in through that I've met a lot of really cool people. So yeah, I just really enjoy it.
For those listening, what you're going to learn as this journey kind of goes on is that we're actually just kind of throwing Natalie and Taylor together. They don't have this long history of working together or long friendship. So there's going to be some rocky beginnings. I'm sure there's going to be some ups and downs, but I know that they're both super, super passionate about this topic and everything it involves. Now, someone like me, and I'm sure you're going to have Jay, which is known as US Bobber, that some people from Parents First Gaming might know. You're going to have him on a future episode. He's out there, but he's as clueless as I am. And Natalie, you mentioned, cosplay, and kind of the end of high school and my college years. I'm obviously older. I'm 40. I would see people out in the park, kind of dressed up as like characters, and I was, what are they doing? Is that they're trying to do like a Mario reimagining or something out there? So is cosplay is that kind of like an anime thing? I mean, for those listening that love anime, I am very stupid. I don't know hardly anything. Is that kind of one and the same?
No, because cosplay can also be involved in any sort of like it can be within any fandom, so of any media. I want to say that I cosplay from a lot of like video games as well. It's just that the first convention that I went to was an anime convention, so like I guess like that's anime is what really like brought me, to that convention since it was for anime. But I did also cosplay from like video games and such as well.
That's really cool. What about you, Taylor? Any cosplay going on?
I do enjoy the work that some people do and the time and effort that they put into their costumes. I do not personally cosplay, but I do enjoy seeing the effort that people put forth into some of these, because some of these are extraordinary. You wouldn't believe some of the costumes that people have put together, and they've spent days of their lives working on some of these costumes, and they just come out amazing looking. Like just spot on characters.
Another really dumb question is, this is just an introduction. I'm sure a lot of this, as you get new listeners and new viewers, you'll probably get a lot of questions and kind of break down the things. But me coming from mainly the video game and sports world, you guys both mentioned anime shows. Are there like E3 style shows but for anime, or is it just like a Comic-Con extension, or is it specific, Natalie?
Well, I would say that there are definitely a lot of conventions to like attend, especially in Texas. There are a lot of anime conventions to attend in Texas. And those are what happens at conventions is mostly like fan meetups, like voice actors, English voice actors will come, you can meet them. There are panels with different people in the industry. It's also a place for fan artists and other fan creators to display their work and have people buy them, which is really good for them. The only thing that I can think of that is even like kind of similar to like an E3 or something. There is always like a yearly anime award show, which is pretty big in the anime community.
Where do they usually have that?
I know it's through Crunchyroll. I don't know exactly like where. Isn't it through Crunchyroll?
It is through Crunchyroll. I don't
Yeah.
know where it's held, but I've seen it several times, and those costumes that go across that are crazy
Yeah.
to say the least.
So would that be like their, the Americanized term? Would that be their kind of Super Bowl in the anime world? Is that like the one like super thing to be excited about, or do they not really have a one overall thing?
Like you'll have a big one maybe in Houston, and then another big one in San Antonio, and then another big one in Dallas, Fort Worth area. So there's just so many that happen. There's no real like big one outside of like the Crunchyroll one that I can think of, but there are always little conventions everywhere, and then you'll get big ones into bigger cities, and you'll get a lot more people at those. But there's always some kind of convention, almost I would say almost weekly.
Especially in the summer. Yeah.
Listen, I'm learning stuff right now. So let me ask you a couple of questions. If you were a brand new person and you were trying to get into anime, Natalie, what is the one show you would recommend, or is it kind of depend on the type person?
Definitely depends on the type of person because there are definitely like animes that never end, which is something that I'm not really into. So like the Naruto, the One Piece, the um yeah, I don't know. I can't do animes that just don't end. It
So
doesn't it
you
doesn't
like
really
ones that actually
suit
have
me.
like they're kind of done.
Yeah, well, or at least they have an end in sight. My favorite anime is probably Full Metal Alchemist, which still has like it's not short like by any means, but it did have an end. It was just really well written. Yeah, so I would probably recommend that. But if people are looking for something that's maybe a bit more like easier to watch, I would say I would definitely go for something that was more shoujo than shonen. I feel like sometimes some shonen isn't super easy to watch. But with shoujo, like slice of life, like Nichijoke, like Oran High School maybe. Oran High School was my first one, but I'll talk about that later. Something that's just like maybe easier to consume.
Okay, before I move on to Taylor, because I'm gonna forget, there was about 16,000 words you just said there that meant absolutely nothing to me. Like show. What were you trying? What was? Explain. Can you break those down for someone that really doesn't know?
Yeah, so I would say that when it comes to anime, like the two main, I guess, categories, I wouldn't really say genres, but categories you could like define them as is shoujo and shonen. So shoujo means like for girls, and shonen means for boys. So like a shoujo anime is like your Sailor Moon, the slice of life like style of
Your li-
animes.
your lie in April.
Yeah, exactly. Your Lion April. And then the shonen is more of like the Naruto, the One Piece. I mean, Full Metal Alchemist is also a shonen, but those are like the two categories.
All right, Taylor. If you had a recommendation for someone that was trying to get an anime and never watched it before, what would be your first?
Again, it's really gonna depend on the person, like in like kind of what they enjoy outside of just the anime. Because if it's an action, like if they enjoy action or something, maybe they're looking for something more along the lines of something like a. I want to say Goblin Slayer, but Goblin Slayer is a little too hardcore for some people, especially the literally the first episode. People can't make it past that because of how brutal it is. But maybe they're looking for something like Tokyo Revengers, where it's kind of a good mix of action and like something that could happen with a little bit of fantasy mixed in.
All right, now I kind of want to get this out of the way. I know that some of our Parents vs. Gaming listeners are going to probably jump onto the first episode because I'm going to basically force them to come over. And they're going to be a little bit lost, like me. It's a lot of parents got the kids. Can we just kind of give a little breakdown or your guys' opinion? How does a parent in general kind of understand what's safe for their kids? Because if you're not paying attention, you just look across the room. They're all animated, so you think your kid's watching a cartoon. But I know from my own personal experience, they're not all. Most of them don't seem to even be kid friendly. So how does do you have any recommendations, Natalie, for like a parent how they would monitor young ones to watch, and are there actual shows for young ones to be able to watch?
I'm trying to think of like recent ones, I guess is the issue. Because I know that there were a lot of older animations that was definitely more, or anime that was definitely more geared towards children. But of course, everything that's coming to my mind now is not necessarily geared towards children. I mean, I would say, but I mean, well,
I mean, the obvious one, Pokemon,
yeah,
right? That's anime, right?
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Look at Pokemon and just assume their kids watching a cartoon, but
Hmm.
technically that's anime, right?
Yes.
Technically, Digimon is anime too, so
Okay, so now why is something like Digimon and Pokemon very popularized? Younger kids can watch it. What separates that from being what makes that an anime versus like the kids just watching Tom and Jerry? Because from a parent's perspective that doesn't know, it just looks like the same thing, right?
It's really just that it's Japanese based, that it was imported from Japan and it had to be like redubbed in English. I say that would be like the main thing that makes it different from just like a Western cartoon. I would also say that, well, because like I said once again, that there are animes that are like for children like that. There's also some where it's for children, but maybe if you think of even like Western cartoons that maybe have like a lewd joke that's like thrown in, right, for older people.
Yeah, like
It's
Family
like
Guy
it's
or something I would not let my like 5-year-old watch.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So a lot of them they can be like that too, where it's like sure it's good like also with like we're in high school, there are plenty of like adult jokes in that, but for the most part it is seen as something that is all right for kids to watch.
Taylor, any recommendations for you on how they handle it?
on handling it, it's you'd really have to sit down and pay attention to what the kid is watching because you can definitely tell the difference in art styles between an anime and a Western cartoon because animes tend to use a lot brighter, flashy. I almost want to say flashier colors, but just they're normally a lot brighter, a lot more colorful. Some of the Western cartoons have kind of adopted that here lately, but you can also tell in like the art style of the eyes, the facial features, the way people are drawn in anime versus how someone or a cartoon is drawn in Western cartoons. You can also tell like if they're really the shape in which they draw people, like how voluptuous they draw a character. Well, that's probably not something you want your kid watching if they're like purposefully making that character look like that because they're trying to show something else outside of. It's a little bit of oh wow, the word's gonna escape me now. A little fan. I
Fan
can't think of it.
service?
Fan service. Yes, you definitely don't want that. Your child watching anything with fan service in it. I don't know why I couldn't think of that right.
Before I let you guys go, I'm very curious because I know Natalie, you're big into anime, and of course Taylor knows the one show that he was able to get me to watch that I am pretty into. Now, first disclosure, I want to say I am definitely someone that can't do subtitles. I do not have the attention span to read. I understand someone in the anime community saying it's better with subtitles. I understand the art direction. I understand the voice acting from the original artist. I 100% appreciate that. But I will just be honest. If I'm going to watch an anime, it's got to be dubbed. I just don't have the patience, and I do think some of these voice actors are probably I would assume they're pretty good because they seem to be using very similar ones in many different shows. But the one show that he was able to get me into, I'm hooked. I totally love it, and that's because I'm really into VR gaming and the VR world and kind of an MMO style stuff in VR. So he was able to get me into SAO, Sword Art Online. So I'm just curious, Natalie, your personal thoughts on the show. If you think it's not good, if it's good, what? Let me hear it.
Okay, well, I've only seen a couple of episodes,
Okay.
I will say. In what I saw, I did not necessarily enjoy it. I think I just thought, of course, this was a while ago, so
Yeah.
now it's like I can't even remember what I don't like, what I didn't like about it. I want to say that I thought, what went through my mind was just that it was a concept that I thought that they could do a little bit more with.
It's very
Yeah.
basic. I'll be honest. It is. I understand that it's very basic. It's probably why it holds my attention. Taylor, your thoughts? I know you dabble in SAO. You kind of keep up with it, but I know it's not at the top of your list.
So a better anime like that I prefer is actually Overlord, because it took that idea, except it's a singular person that stayed through a game closure, and now he's trapped permanently in his character in that world, and he's kind of just adopted that he is that now, which I really like that
Well,
concept on it.
let me get through SAO a little bit more, and maybe you'll convince me to venture into another one. All right, guys. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time for the first episode. They're going to be back next week on Monday with you guys, just the two of them. They are taking the reins of the podcast. I'm super excited to see where they go with this. So don't forget, you can follow Another Anime Podcast on Instagram, on Twitter, and you can also find us on the YouTube channel for Last Choice Network. So we hope you guys enjoy it. And of course, any of the podcast platforms around the globe, as they say, everything will be on there. If you want to see the video version, if you are listening to whether it's Spotify or Apple Podcast or one of the many others, you can look us up on the YouTube channel, Last Choice Network. We're super excited for you to go on with this journey, and we can't wait to see this anime podcast grow. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at lastchoicenetwork@gmail.com. And I wish you guys luck. I'm super excited to see where you go, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good rest of the afternoon, guys. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you.
Later.